Blackstone Audio presents The Bone Polisher by Timothy Hallinan. This book is read by Keith Szarabajka. For Munyon Choi, Muse. Preface 2012. For more than a year, I debated making The Bone Polisher available as an e-book. More than the other books in the Simeon Grist series, it describes a world that has changed somewhat radically since the story was written. In the period in which the book is set, acquired immune deficiency syndrome was nearly always fatal, and it was raging like a firestorm through the gay community. Also back in those days, gay people were even more marginalized than they are now, which was of course one reason the medical community took so long to get on the right track about the disease's causes. And it was also the reason that outing someone, which is part of the book's plot, was a more devastating thing in many cases than it is now. These days, someone like the character Christopher Nordine wouldn't necessarily be looking at a death sentence. At the time the book was written, though, it was almost as certain as the sun coming up in the east. I wrote this story in the first place because I was arrested for drunk driving. As part of my penalty, the judge sentenced me to several months in Alcoholics Anonymous. This curdled my blood. I was certain I wasn't an alcoholic, and when I thought of Alcoholics Anonymous, I imagined dingy rooms with curling linoleum floors in which a bunch of unshaven, toothless men in raincoats chain-smoked and gummed uninteresting confessions at each other. Sort of like film noir, but 11 hours long and without a plot. But that was not to be. I lived above the Sunset Strip in West Hollywood, and West Hollywood even then had a demographically anomalous number of gay people. My local meeting was in a church at Fountain in Fairfax. When I walked into that room for the first time, I was expecting a budget production of The Lower Depths, but what I got was more like the moment in The Wizard of Oz when Dorothy opens the door to reveal that Oz is in color. The room was full of the best-looking group of men I'd ever seen, although some of them were painfully thin. It soon became apparent that quite a few of them were there because they were determined to die sober, and others had come so they could live their last year or so in clarity. I saw more grace and courage in that first hour than I'd ever seen in such a concentrated period in my entire life. And I both cried and laughed myself silly, in that meeting and the meetings that followed. I made dozens of friends. I learned that I was, in fact, an alcoholic, and that I was in good company. I've never had a drink since, and it saddens me to know that so many of the guys who helped me are gone now. When I started The Bone Polisher, I was thinking of them. Because since I'm straight, I felt unqualified to write about gay life from the inside. Yet another gay man, also HIV positive, was kind enough to read it and show me where I was screwing it up. I'd thank him here, but he—
Sample complete. Ready to continue?